Hello, my name is Eric and I'm doing another one of my photography vlogs called One Body, One Lens, One Roll, One Day. This episode I'm hanging around home because as you can kind of see, maybe not, but my wife's lilies are blooming. Great time to use your macro lens. Today's camera, and I will have a macro part of it, is the Nikon N2000. You've seen a couple of these before. This one has the AA adapter, not the standard AAA adapters. AAA adapter corroded out on me. I found the AA adapter. I got some AA's in here. Today's lens is a ProMaster EDO 70-300 Tele-macro. Now what the Tele-macro means, if you can see in the top of the lens there, is that it can breach the macro, but only in the 180-300 zoom range. So you got to go to that 180-300 and then you can kind of creep into the macro range. Macro on this lens is actually a 1:2, which is pretty good for a non-true macro lens. So I should be able to get some very nice tight shots of my wife's lilies and other flowers. Today's film is some expired, of course most of my episodes are expired, some Fuji Extra 800. Now I don't know the date on this. I'm going to assume it's at least 20 years old, so I'm going to slow it down 2 steps. So I'm going to shoot at ISO 200. And let me load it up. I'll be right back. Okay, I've set my ISO to 200. We are now loaded up, ready to go. And let me get some shots of some flowers. Be right back. Okay, so my wife really likes lilies, so I've got some, I don't know all the different lilies, but I've bought them over the years. There's Asiatic, there's star lilies, there's, I don't know, these orange ones, whatever these orange ones are. They may probably be a variant of Asiatic. But the nice thing is I'm getting the flower to actually totally fill the frame on this one, and I don't even have to be close or really, super tight like some of the other macro lenses. Some of the other ones are using the reversing ring. I am like right up on top of it. Where this one, I can stay back 3-4 feet to get the shot. So if you're walking around like botanical gardens, if you're walking around fields of sunflowers and stuff like that, you can use a Tele-macro, something that's 100, the 70-300 zoom Tele-macro or something like that, and you don't have to like tromp all over and step on stuff to get your shot. All right, let me see what else I can get. Be right back. All right, so I've mentioned before, ProMaster is not a film company. They're a buying group. They still exist today. Check your local camera store. Sometimes they're pro dealers, sometimes they're not. But back in the 90s and even early 2000s and even previous to that, they would buy in bulk from other manufacturers and tag their name to it. So this 70-300 Tele-macro, 99% positive it was a Tamron lens in disguise. When you had so many camera companies that were out there, Ritz and Cords and Vans, and this is kind of more in the Northeast Ohio area, a lot of mom and pop shops. It was an R&R photo. There was a bunch of other places like that. If you were a pro dealer, you would have the ProMaster variant of the Tamron lens. You might also have the Tamron lens for an extra $25-50, but basically this was more of a camera store brand. And if you bought from Ritz Camera or Wolf Camera, typically they had the Quantaray brand. Now the Quantaray brand was more of a Sigma lens in disguise versus the ProMaster brand was more the Tamron lens in disguise. So all sorts of competitions. They did that just to kind of help get their name out there. Some stores bought brand lens. If you take a look at some of the old manual focus Sears cameras and Sears lenses were typically Ricoh cameras and Ricoh lenses in disguise, but they wanted their own brand, so that's what they did. You don't see too much of that anymore. However, I know that a couple of Pentax lenses, their digital lenses, are made by Tamron, and a couple of Nikon Z-mount lenses are also made by Tamron. They will never admit to that, but yes, they make some of them. Doesn't mean they're any worse quality, but the Nikon, if you were doing Nikon mirrorless, the Nikon Z stuff is pretty much all Nikon. Some of their kit lenses and some of their non-Z lenses or non-S lenses are Tamrons in disguise. and a lot of the Pentax ones, they're 2470, 7210, those pretty close to, yeah, it's a Tamron. But Pentex's limited series, that was pretty much all Pentax stuff. And, you know, nothing wrong with somebody else assembling it for you as long as you had the production, the designs and stuff like that. That's what they did. All right, I am on shot 14 on a roll of 24. Let me go see what else I can get. Be right back. All right, so front yard, and you can maybe see the bird feeder right there. Okay. Not the same bird feeder I did the Pentax 17 episode on. That one broke. Deer got at it, tore out the bottom. This is the replacement, seems to be holding up. And there's a deer repellent thing right next to it. So far, it's done good. The birds have been feeding pretty well. But I do have a couple of yellow lilies right down in that area, so I'm gonna shoot those real quick. Be right back. Okay, so this ProMaster 70-300 is a autofocus lens, and I am putting it on a manual focus body. This autofocus lens does have a aperture collar on it, so it is, theoretically, I should be shooting it in automatic mode, because it has an aperture ring on it and it's locked at 32. I guess I probably should have checked that. So I could be, well, I'm locked in, so this camera does have auto, so I would think I am in shutter priority right now. The camera's controlling the f-stop. Let me look at the camera here. Everything seems to be working okay, so hopefully I got everything right. If not, this will be a blank roll. Oh well. All right, shot 20 of 24. Let me get a couple more shots. All right, so I shot my last shot. It's telling me that it's at the end of the roll. I got a 25th shot out of the deal, which, you know, you can always get every now and then. Now remember, with these manual cameras, most of them have a release pin, usually underneath. This one does not have it underneath because that's where the batteries are. Instead, this one has it up on top. So I'm going to push right there. I'm going to push that pin in, lock it down so that it doesn't pop up on me as I'm rewinding. Some of the ones underneath I know have accidentally rewound, so I tend to hold that one in. And as you rewind, as many shots as you took should be about as many winds before you are done. And there it is, I am done. Okay, so today we were roaming around the house because I was doing macro flowers and stuff like that. Today's camera was the Nikon N2000 with the ProMaster 70-300 Tele-macro and some expired Fuji 800 that I overexposed by 2 stops to ISO 200 because it is, I'm guessing, 20 years old. Feel free to like the video if we got some good images. Hopefully we got some good images. Feel free to comment on your experience with Fujifilm, especially some of the expired. This is the Superia Extra 800. And then, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you subscribe, new episodes come out about every Friday and every Saturday, with bonus episodes happening every now and then. I did a really big episode on Mansfield Reformatory, and instead of doing one roll, one lens per day, I did one roll, one body, one lens per section of the Reformatory. So if you've seen movies like Shawshank Redemption, Tango and Cash, Air Force One, the prison that they use in those movies, that's Mansfield Reformatory. Very spooky place, haunted, or supposedly haunted, you know. Go ahead and watch that episode if you're into haunted stuff. You might have to go some digging because it was last year, but that was a cool episode. It was one of my longer ones. All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next episode.